That's definitely the direction you need to go. You'll definitely start making more money.
My dad's gonna love hearing you say that.
And you start running ads and you run into issues, then you need to widen it. All right, you desperate, you know? What's up, dude?
What's up, man?
Where did you come from again?
Austin.
Austin?
Yeah.
Okay, so both times it was kind of like in the middle.
Yeah.
Wasn't like too bad, right?
2 hours each way, not bad.
Yeah. You do golf stuff, right?
So I'm a golf fitness mindset coach.
Oh, so you do both. Okay,
Yeah.
so that makes, okay,
Yeah.
because I was like, am I losing my mind? I need
No,
to do
no,
golf.
no.
Okay.
It's become a really interesting thing when I introduce what I do. People are like, oh, I need to hit you up. I need help with my golf swing. I'm like, I'm not your guy for that. Like, I'm not a swing coach. I'm not even a good player. You know, it's my strength and conditioning background.
Only for golfers.
Niched for golf.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
And I work with mostly junior and collegiate players. So obviously my online conversations are interesting because I'm mostly talking to the end user, not the end payer.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't know if that was going to work at first. That was kind of the interesting thing about when I started.
And so do their parents usually pay?
Yeah, pretty much 99.9%.
Yeah,
of the time.
which is good for you because a lot of times that can be difficult depending on who you're targeting. Do you target the parents or the athlete?
So mostly the athlete online because I feel like the athlete has to be actually interested in doing it. If the parent just brings it and says, "Oh, I think this would be great for my kid," then he doesn't. do it. I've had unfortunately a few people like that and it doesn't go well.
Yeah.
The problem right now is we have 4 years of incredible stagnation. It has not grown beyond that, and that is 100% on me. I mean, it's been like a 200K business.
Okay.
For
so
the
like
last
15-ish a month, give or take.
About that,
Yeah, about 15.
And
18.
it's like lead generation, especially lately, has been brutal.
In what way when you say that?
It feels like a lot of the conversations are shooting the
Yeah.
and that's probably framing and stuff like that. But like when you talk to kids online, you're trying to get to know them as players because golf profiles are very easy to spot on Instagram. It's super easy.
Yeah.
But it's always just like, I got a few tournaments coming up. Like I feel like we just stay in this like dance land where it never progresses into anything outside of, I need to work on my swing. Everything's swing. Everything's technique, even though it's not. It's mostly mindset for kids. Sometimes it's fitness.
Right.
But it's very, very hard to transition that conversation. And I tried looking at what I did earlier on in 2020 when things were going like, I didn't even have a name brand. It wasn't known, but it was moving along. And we talked a little bit more fitness framing back then, but like it wasn't conclusive. So I think right now I'm trying to figure out why this isn't working.
Do you know how to golf?
I mean, I'm not awful, but I'm not.
You're not like super expert or something.
No.
Okay, so something I just want to point out that, I mean, it already seems very obvious, is everyone keeps asking for help with their swing. Now, I'm not saying you have to go down that path, but I do find it interesting that there's a saying, give them what they want, so you give them what they need. If everyone continues to ask for like help with their swing, I don't know if that's something you'd be willing to look into or help with, but that might be like the easiest way. And then once they commit, you're like, yeah, so I'll help you with your swing, your fitness, etc. And then once they come in, it's easier because you're selling them on the thing they want. How do you get your clients right now? Like, how do you get your clients? Is it
Instagram
all organic?
DM. Yeah, it's been all organic.
Okay, so that's interesting to note because, for example, the obvious way for you to scale is to run ads.
Right.
Because you need more leads. You get more leads, you get more sales, you make more money. That's part of why you've probably stagnated. I'm surprised you've been doing only that long.
Yeah.
The good news is it's working, which is incredible. That's a long time, bro. So the reason that's something to note is when you run ads, what's going to happen? Even if you target golfers, there's only so many golfers. I don't know. Have you looked at the targeting for golfers on Facebook ads?
I didn't really even start to look at this stuff until you brought it up last week with the boosted posts, things like that.
Right. So so that's definitely the direction you need to go. If you start doing that, you'll definitely start making more money because you're going to get more leads. But keep in mind, niching down is great, especially when not a lot of people are going for it, because I guarantee you no one else is reaching out to them about fitness. Probably you're the only guy. Right. So that helps you stand out. The downside is when you run ads is when you pick, let's say golfing, maybe there's only X amount of people in that category. So let's say it's like 2 million people. Well, if 1,000 impressions cost $20, after a while, you're going to run out of people. Or Facebook is showing the ad to a lot of people you don't want to target, so you waste a lot of money, so you lose profitability. But that's something to note because when you start running ads, that could be a problem you run into. Now, you really don't know until you start, but you're going to need to start running ads. Now, in terms of the framework for the golfing, I guess where's your hiccup? Is it a cold DM?
My niche, like they're never that cold because you can easily spot golfers if they follow you back. They usually know somebody I work with. Like it's a relatively small community.
Oh, no.
So it's never that cold. That's the funny
thing. Wow.
thing.
Walk me through a typical discussion and then I can spot discrepancies and see where issues might be. I just want to kind of see what that framework looks like and then I can spot maybe irregularities and what we need to fix.
Yeah. Hey, Matthew, how's it going, man? Not much right now. And a lot of the times, because these individuals aren't super cold, I'll be like, so you got any tournaments on the horizon? Okay. Not for a while. I play on my high school basketball team, so probably won't until April or May or whatever. So I say, cool. I said, so are you looking to play golf at the next level, you think? Okay. Trying to get an idea as to whether or not he's like a really serious player. Yeah. You know? Yes, it's been a dream of mine since I started to take golf pretty serious. Great to hear. What aspects of the game need to improve, in your opinion, to get there? My goal this offseason is to get a little stronger, so we did go into, kind of fitness, and make my misses not as bad as they have been. Where do you find that strength is lacking since you're looking for more strength? Okay. And he said, do you mean golf strength or actual strength? I said, I mean, they're both strength. He said, I'm a little confused. And I said, so when I train you guys in the gym, I said, undoubtedly, we're looking to build strength that's going to translate over to the golf course, right? Okay. Yeah. And he said, I'd like to be able to hit the ball further when I play longer courses. Like instead of using a hybrid, I can use a 6-iron. And I'm fine with them talking about stuff like that. And then they kind of just like, and this is my issue. Then we get, and I'm sure it's my fault too. We get into like this talking about speed sticks, which are things that you use to improve and then he says, like, if you have any advice to get stronger to me, what would you say? And I basically just, he kind of asked for a little bit of help there. So I said, well, every player I work with, we build mobility, strength, and then speed in that order. And then the speed sticks will help you even more. I said, that's why the players I coach have an average of 15 yards of distance gain in their first 90 days, and usually a whole bunch more from there. And then the combo, like, he saw it but didn't respond from there. Okay.
So we'll go through it. So do you go to a 15-minute call or a 60?
I do a 2-call close.
Okay, yeah. 15, so the first thing is like your what's up part is like okay, but he responded, but I would just also make sure relate. Just like, hey dude, what's up? Saw you're a golfer or whatever. Like just make it a little bit more relatable. Mm-hmm. He obviously responded, but that could be a potential issue on different messages. Then he's like, yeah, not much right now. And you're like, cool. Any tournaments coming up? Not for a while. That's fine. Cool. Are you looking to play at the next level? And that's important because this, to me, is almost like if the person's overweight, where you're like, cool, like, so like, what's, are you trying to get in the gym and stuff? And then they're like, yeah, but I mean, not for a while. And you're like, okay, like anytime soon. And she's like, yeah. So that part's fine. From here, you're like, great to hear. Like, what do you think needs to be improved? I like that question. So it's like, what's your struggle? So, I mean, so far you've kind of been like, what's your goal? What's your struggle? That's kind of like, that follows the same premise. Mm-hmm. But what do you need to improve? And he said, strength and misses. And then you said, where do you find strength is lacking? So what I would have said there, instead of saying, where do you find strength is lacking? I don't think that really matters because obviously he thinks he needs to get stronger. So what I would have said, what are you doing to try to improve your strength? Mm-hmm. And then he would have said, oh, I'm the 6, this and that. From there, I would have said, have you ever had, like, yeah, that totally makes sense. Have you ever had a coach? Because if you actually look, dude, you're kind of following it, but you're not. I mean, here, if you ask me, this is basically saying goal. What's your goal? Then here, you're going, what's your struggle? This question here, you're asking, what have you tried before?
Right.
So the next question is, have you ever had a coach? Or like, so when he says a strength thing, I'm like, yeah, like, and have you ever had like a coach to help you with your strength stuff? And he's like, no, not really. Then what I do from there is I go, well, look, I don't know if you care or not, but I've done this a long time. I'm down to give you some suggestions. He even asked you for a suggestion. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What I didn't like in what you did, and that's really the only part, because it's pretty good. You can tell you're making money. The part I didn't like is when he asked you for a suggestion, you kind of made it too salesy, in my opinion, because you're like, well, yeah, like all the players I work with, X, Y, and Z. That's why I asked you if you did a 1 or 2 call close, because if you're doing a 1 call close, that sounds like a 1 call close because you're making it very obvious. You're possibly looking to sell something. If you're going to do a 2 call close, just offer free advice, get them on that call, and then you can transition to it, because it's so much easier once he gets on the 15-minute call and you've built rapport He's like, okay, this guy seems cool. He's not weird. He didn't try to sell me anything. And then what I do from there is I'll send my application or email, right? And then I get him on the sales call. That to me is a pretty simple fix. I just think you got a little too pitchy. And so, I mean, maybe that's worked for you on some other calls.
No, you're right. You're right.
But I just want to pitch the advice because once you do the call, do you send an email or like an application after? Or how do you do it?
Yeah, you do it all with the leads.
Yeah, so from there, all you really did, in my opinion, is you just got a little too pitchy. Now, he didn't respond. So the way I'd follow up is say, and look, dude, like, no, like, by the way, like, no pressure to like buy anything. I just was trying to give you free advice, but like, it's, whatever you want. Like, and you just kind of pull back a little bit. You're like, look, like, I'm just down to give you free advice. Don't feel pressure to buy anything. Sorry if that came off the wrong way. Because that's probably what he thought. And so whenever I do message someone and they don't respond, I want to say the thing that they're probably thinking.
Right.
So in that case, I would just say, hey, by the way, no pressure to like buy anything or anything. I just genuinely was trying to help. So sorry if that came off the wrong way. And then what usually will happen is either he'll read it and respond, or if he reads it again, then you kind of can just back off for a couple more days. And then you can maybe follow up one more time. It's like, hey dude, like, you're like, hey dude, I was just thinking about you. Again, if you need any advice, let me know. And if not, like, wish you best of luck in the tournaments. And then that's it. And that's your final one. But as long as you give him a little bit of space in between the messages, you can usually follow up twice.
Right.
You just don't want to do it too often to the point where it's like, all right, you desperate, But other than that, it was good. I just think you need to be a little less pitchy.
I think also some of these messages, like I'm trying to think of when I was getting off the plane yesterday. Sometimes I'll respond not fully there.
Yeah, you're just, of course.
Which I think is, I was looking at that message, actually, I don't totally remember even sending that. I mean, obviously I did, but I was like.
You just get tired and then you'd probably just get a little bit more direct because you're trying to cut it, you're trying to like be efficient.
Right.
But yeah, just if you're going to do 2 call closes, there's no benefit in that because you're not pushing for the sale right away. And you could lose it. I usually view that as like, it could hurt you, but it won't help you.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So I want to do it.
I'd be open to a 1 call close, but with my demographic, it's pretty tough.
I don't think you need to. Not unless it's ads. Usually it's pretty normal.
Right.
For B2C. B2C meaning there's no financial ROI.
Right.
Because they don't know why you're reaching out.
Right.
When it's financial ROI, it's like, all right, this guy's about like, it says Tanner Chidester business coach. Like they know what's up.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, like other than that, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Here's you doing DMs.
Yeah.
So if let's say you do 100 a day and you go to 200 a day, you'll make more sales, which means you'll make more money. That's super straight. Okay, ads. Well, why will ads work? Because if you're getting 0 leads right now, and then you start getting 200 leads a month, that will also work, right? And then the last thing, I guess we get hit on, is efficiency, right? So when I look at your messaging, like, it's pretty efficient overall. So what's the difference between you doing 15,000 a month and one of our clients doing 0? When I look at their messages, it's horrible. Terrible skill, terrible efficiency. So when people look at like Elite CO, so let's say here's a $10,000 business and then here's a $1 million a month business. The only difference is these activities here, you're just increasing the volume here. You're just doing way more. That's all it is. It's not that complex. The complexity comes because you can't do this all yourself in hiring the team.
Right.
Right. So for example, sometimes I'll get messages from clients. This coach said this, and I'm like, okay. Crap. So I have to go to the coach. I'm like, hey, like what's going on with this client? Because the hard thing for me as the leader is I'm trying to get my team to replicate me as much as possible. Because the more they replicate me, the better the business will do. Because I should be the best. Like I'm Tanner. Like it's literally the brand's around me. The reason you've stayed stuck is you haven't done any of these things. Because look, all you focused on is this. But it's like you're pretty efficient, right? So the only other 2 things you can do are
doesn't
these,
feel that way sometimes.
and you haven't done it. No, like I mean, some of that was not the best, but I'm not looking at that and going, "Oh my gosh, you're the worst in the world." You're good. Like so, let's say you're a 7 or 8. Could you get to a 10 and that'd make a little different? Sure. So let's say you go from 15,000 a month to 20,000.
Right.
But it's like now you're at another bottleneck. You got to do one of these 2 things, right?
Well, I'm already doing the top one. The top.
Right.
Yeah,
So you'd increase the DMs is what I mean.
Right.
Right. or you run ads. And the reason you do ads at some point is because this is the max you could probably do per day. That's it. Like you can't send more than probably 10 hours. I mean, unless you want zero life, which all of us don't, right?
It doesn't actually take me that long to send. Like I was sitting on the couch the other night and I was literally doing it, like tallying it in my notebook, like how many I was sending. And I think in about 90 minutes, I sent pretty close to like 75.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know how you're doing that and not getting blocked, but you get the point. Like the way you would make more sales.
They weren't all new.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's what I mean is new.
Yeah.
So this is strictly new. So maybe that's what I should put here. I'm talking new DMs.
Yeah.
I'm not, so,
okay.
So like, yeah, if you did that plus respond, that's the max.
It's hard to actually find. I mean, the idea of finding 100 new players in my avatar per day, that's near impossible.
Yeah. So, but that's how you would do it. Right. So again, that goes back to, this is the only way you scale. So whenever someone's like, I want to make more revenue, well, you need more sales. How do you make more sales? You get more leads. How do you get more leads?
Right.
People way overcomplicate. Now,
sure.
If you're getting more leads and it's not working, guess where you look? Efficiency. Is the team doing it right? How are we doing on upsells? How are we doing on upgrades? Right? When I left the country last year and we were having issues, there were issues everywhere. Coaches were doing the wrong things, sales guys doing the wrong things, and it just turned into a huge show. So when I came back, the first thing I focused on was efficiency. It's like, dude, let's get a little bit more efficient. It's not gonna be perfect efficiency because,
right.
It's my business and I'm not doing everything. But where you're at, this is all you need to focus on, period. Now, this brings in the question here. And what you just said is you go, oh man, like, I don't even know if I can find a new 100 people. Okay, well, think about it. That lowers your efficiency rate because you're taking longer to find a new client. So what did I bring up to you earlier? Something you need to think about is, do you go outside of golfers? Okay, you don't have to if you don't want to.
My dad's gonna love hearing you say that. He's been like, "What about tennis? What about?"
Yeah, I mean, dude, because the thing you'll run into is like, I don't want to tell you until you run this, but here's what happens with ads. Here's what Facebook does.
Right.
So here's Facebook. All right, and what Facebook does is you'll pick interests. All right. Now, each interest is different sizes. So let's say this interest is that big, this interest is this big, this interest is that big, that one's that big. You get the picture, right? Yep. So everything's different. Right. So let's say golf is this big, okay? And here's your ad spend. So what Facebook will do is as you spend more, Facebook will target this, but then it'll start going off like this, and it'll start going off like that, and it'll start hitting these things that you don't want, which means you're gonna have to spend more to acquire a customer. The concern I have is not now, right? But at some point, you're probably going to run out of golfers, right? Yeah. It's not going to happen sometime soon, but it's also, you might get someone who's liked a golf page on Facebook, but they're not actually a golfer, right? So you're going to get not all the perfect leads.
Or they're not a competitor. They're like an old guy, which,
Correct.
I mean...
Correct.
I have a few adult clients.
Correct. So when I did fitness, I'm not saying you have to go this broad, but I just was like, look, if you're over 35 and you're overweight, sign up, dude. Because I just knew there's a lot of people who are 35 or older who are overweight. Now, the downside to that is what? More competition.
Yeah.
So now, let's say you and me, we get the same lead. Well, now you're going against Tanner. So if Tanner's better at messaging, he's going to beat you. One of the reasons you're winning right now, no one's going after your clients. You're decent too. You're good. Like I don't look at you and go, oh, wow, you're really horrible at messaging stuff. But I can almost guarantee you no one else is having those combos with them.
Right.
So as you spread out.
I'm the only performance coach who's ever at these golf tournaments.
Correct. So as you spread out, what happens is as you get broader, so as you move into these, what's nice is these are bigger pockets, but there's more competitors going after it, right? When you're at this one, you're the only dog, right? So you're a big fish in a small pond. Here, you'd be a small fish in a big pond, right? And so there's a lot more going on. It only comes down to what you give a shit about. If you're just like, look, I just want to make more money, and you start running ads and you run into issues, then you need to widen it. If you're like, I don't care about the money as much as I cared, I just want to stick in my lane, that's fine. But just know it's going to be harder because of what I just said, right?
Right.
It doesn't really matter. I never really gave it. I was just like, look, I just want to make a lot of money and I'm really good at sales and I know I'll beat other people, so whatever. So I just went broad. Right. But as you go broad, the competition gets heavier, so it's harder. So for example, if I was a business coach only for golfing coaches, I'd kill people because there'd be no competition, but there's less of them. So it makes it's a different type of, so you just got to choose your hard. It's either your hard is other competition that's going after the same client, or your hard is there's not as many leads and you have to pay a lot more per customer and stuff
extremely
like that.
Niche. Yeah.
Yeah. So it just depends what your hard is.
Right.
But for me, when someone struggles with ads, if the costs are too high, I just say, look, just niche out or branch out, just get a little broader. I mean, your original question was, should I do that, right? Like, should I do the early upgrade, etc.?
I guess I more wanted your thoughts on it, not should I or should I not do it. I wanted to just...
I mean, it just comes to, at the end of the day, it all comes down to LTV. Did you make more money doing that versus the other way? And the only way you're going to know is if you split test it, right? At the end of the day. The pros of upgrading someone sooner is, you know, you don't risk them not upgrading later. The downside is if they would have upgraded later. So at least the way we do it is if we upgrade someone sooner, it's like cheaper overall, right? So if I upgrade them later and we don't discount it, then I'd make more money. So there's, you know, you can view it either way, but the only way you're going to know for sure is if you split test it.
How do you also know right now? I mean, I've been at 2,500 for 3 months for a bit now. When's the right time to? Is there a right time? Is it?
If too many people say yes, like if you're selling it at 2,500 and you're never having to do price drops, meaning you're lowering the price, it's probably too low. Yeah. So when you sell it, do most people pay in full? Do they do a payment plan?
Usually pay in full. I've had a few people. So over payments, I charge $3,000 for that. I forgot to mention that. I do, yeah.
And like over how many months? They have to pay it within the time
period?
I
usually just do it over 3 months.
Okay, so does that happen consistently where people pay in full or they pay over 3 months?
I definitely get significantly more people paying in full, especially if they get a $500 discount.
Out of 10 calls, how many?
Probably 7 pay in full.
Yeah, it's too cheap.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if everyone's paying in full, it's too cheap. I mean, for elite COs, we get 25 or 30% paid in full, if that. Like, gotcha. I mean, it's too, yeah. I mean, if you're getting that many paid in fulls, it's too cheap. When it's too expensive is when you start getting more people to say no than say yes.
Right.
Right. So, for example, when I was selling my fitness programs at 2,500, dude, I would get so many people. Like, I get hardly any resistance. When I got to 3,200. I got a little more resistance. And then when I went above 3,200, I got a lot of resistance. And so for me, I was like, okay, 3,200 is kind of the sweet spot where I get a good amount. I'm maximizing cash flow, but I'm also not getting tons and tons of no's.
Right.
So, and remember when I did this, if I said, hey, it's $4,000 and they said no, then I just go through the price objection, right? Which is close, object, they object, you agree, you isolate. Okay, you ask for cash on hand. And then you go to the, you know, I'm down to work something out, but you got to do it today. Okay, so work. Okay, and then the last one's, I don't think you should do all of it. Yeah, I mean, if you're getting 7 out of 10 people who pay in full, that's a lot, bro. I mean, that definitely to me tells me it's too cheap. Now, obviously, you're getting part of it because you're doing the price anchor, because you're like, hey, well, it's 3,000. If you pay in full, it's 2,500. So you're doing the price anchor. So that helps. But you should be getting more people who need payment plans. I would say, like, if you're not getting people who need more payment plans, then it's kind of cheap. And then again, if you're like, oh my gosh, but what if I raise it too high? You should just do this. And that's the whole point.
My expectation was that it would be valuable. It certainly was that and a lot more. And I like the fact that he catered this around me. He basically came in and said, dude, this is for you, whatever you want. I'm not coming in with a script. I'm not coming in saying we got to do this, 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 this. Like, what do you need help with and how can I serve? And that's really what it was. And it absolutely delivered the value I was expecting. And I would say it exceeded it undoubtedly.